And I just sat there and I said, you know what? We're never going to get to where we want to be unless I invest in myself and my skills. And I think it was that moment. And I said, hey, I got to learn.
We're going to train you how to work with what is already there, human behavior, to get them to pull you in, to get them to do all the work.
And it's when I started paying attention to the nuances and the things that you were coaching me, that things began to click. And that's where my income went from just making like $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a month to making like 50, 60, 70. Because at first it was just mimicking, and then it started becoming understanding like the nuances.
What did you feel like you were missing before that took you from 30 to 45? Because that's a big jump. What did you feel like you finally learned and mastered about it?
It was
What did you have to master, go from 45 to 80? What was the big thing you had to master?
It would be...
Welcome to the Wednesday Live Now. We are going live on StreamYard, so we're using 4 different platforms. We love StreamYard. StreamYard, if you're out there, maybe you should contact us about doing a possible sponsorship on our show, podcast, Closers or Losers. We're getting hit up by every company now. You might want to get on a StreamYard. We're using it, we're promoting you all the ways. Now, we're going live here on 4 different platforms. We're going live in our Facebook group. Ryan said here, unbelievable, this nerd has a following. Look at Ryan from YouTube. I love you. Ryan, Ryan, stay classy, San Diego. Stay classy, San Diego. There you go. I love it. Just bring it. Stay classy, San Diego. And that was a good one, Nick. I haven't heard that one. I actually consider myself more of a geek rather than a nerd, but I appreciate the compliment, Ryan. So we're going live in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. 91,000 of you in that thing. We're about to cross over to about 100,000 in there. We're also going live on our YouTube channel. 21,000 new subscribers in the last 4 weeks. Love you guys on YouTube. We're going live in our Facebook business page. 153,000 of you running around on there, and we're going live on my personalized Facebook. Now, on Wednesdays, we do it a little bit differently. So on Wednesdays, every week, pretty much 50 weeks out of the year, take Christmas off, and I don't know, there's one Wednesday we take off, usually before Thanksgiving. We interview. Ryan, you don't have to apologize me. I'm just giving you hell. We love you, Ryan. I'm just a sarcastic dude. You can ask the guy I'm interviewing on here. He actually knows me personally now. Well, actually for quite a few years. So on Wednesdays, we go live with a different client from a different industry, and we break down their sales process, and we talk about where they were before they became a client, what they've learned, okay, what they've tweaked in their sales process, their script for their industry. And I ask them questions so you can benefit from that. Now, if you want to benefit from this guy, now I have to warn you here. I'm going to give you a disclaimer. This client, and we're going to talk about this today. The title of what I showed here is, Can Introverts Outsell Extroverts? Can introverts outsell extroverts, or can extroverts outsell introverts? Now, there's actually a third type of the vert, if you really want to know, and that's what's in the middle. That's called an ambi. I think it's an ambivert or something like that. I could be pronouncing it wrong. That's what I am. I can be extroverted. I can go out on a keynote and speak in front of 10,000 people. My largest keynote I've ever done was about a year ago for Quality Symmetry Insurance, or one of our clients now. We train like 20-some thousand of their agents. They're a big life insurance company. Had me do one of their big keynotes in the Denver Convention Center from about 9,000 people. It's probably my biggest keynote. I'm very comfortable just walking out and doing it. Doesn't even feel like nothing. But I'm also just as comfortable being an introvert at dinner with 6 people, sitting there listening, not saying a word. I'm really, as Ryan said, I'm a nerd. There you go. So we want to talk about the different introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, and then what it takes if you're an introvert to become a top salesperson, because there's a myth out there that if you're introverted, you can't sell. Those computer programmers, those nerds, those, whatever, those tech people, they can't sell. They don't know how to ask questions. They don't know how to use their tone. They don't know how to prevent objections from happening. So we're going to talk to an introvert and let him tell you his process. And he's going to talk about, and I'm going to give you a disclaimer, the numbers that he'll probably talk about today, about how much money he makes now and how much money he's made in the past per month do not mean you are going to get those same results. I just want to go out there that the reason why this client got up to making almost, in some months, almost 6 figures in a month in commissions is because he put in the work. I don't mean he worked 18 hours a day, hustle muscle, calling thousands of leads. I mean, he put in the work to acquire the sales ability, the sales skills to be able to earn that type of money, because you have to learn a much higher level of sales ability to make a lot more money than you are now, right? And I can't guarantee you at 7 level, we can't guarantee you that you're going to put in that same work to learn the right questions to ask, to know how and where to ask them in the sales process, to understand what type of tone you need for different questions in different parts of your sales process. We can't control, we can't force you to learn those things. We can't force you to understand and learn the right body language and how to use your facial expressions, even if you're on the phone or in person, that actually control how your tonality sounds in the prospect's brain. We can't control any of that, okay? So I'm going to give a disclaimer when he talks about these numbers. They in no way guarantee that you're going to do the same, because you have to put in the work. And we can't guarantee that you're going to put in the work to learn and acquire those skills, which takes longer than a week or 2 weeks or a month or a couple of months. And we'll break down his process. Now, what I'm going to have you do at the same time is I'm going to have you ask him questions. So you're going to ask this guy questions about what it took. Like, what was your biggest struggle when you got into sales? Like, how did you learn NEPQ, neuro emotional persuasion questions? You know, how did you learn tonality that Jeremy and our trainers teach tens of thousands? How did you learn the right questions for your industry? How did you learn how to tie an NEPQ to what you sell? Whatever questions you have, I want you guys to start posting them now. And I'm going to pick about the best 6 to 8 of those questions. And Tony, I let out his name. I'll give you his last name in a minute. We will answer those questions as I'm going through the interview. Now, type in me if you want to ask me, Jeremy Miner, or this client, okay, who got up to almost, 80-some thousand a month in commissions. Not every month he made that. You know, I'd say he averaged a little bit less per month. That's still a lot of money, making 6, 7, 800,000 plus a year. If you want to ask questions about what type of sales ability it takes, what you have to learn to do that, I want you to ask those questions. That's why we bring clients on here. Now, just so you guys know, we only interview clients on here that we have a threshold. They have to be making a certain amount of money in commissions to even be interviewed on this show. So it's very hard to get on the show. You have to be making, I think, at least $35,000 a month in commissions consistently in your industry to be able to be interviewed on the show as one of our clients. All right. Now, if you are brand new here, you just started following maybe on YouTube. All right. Because we haven't done much on YouTube. Been around for 4 years. We just acquired a content creation company about 6 weeks ago. And now we're like blowing up YouTube. We literally have gained 21,000 new subscribers in the last 4 to 5 weeks. Okay, if you've been following me in the Facebook group, we're a lot bigger in there. Obviously, we've got many different Facebook groups. Been following me on our Facebook page. We got tens of thousands on there. So you already know me. So I'm the founder of 7th Level. And 7th Level, you should know, sales training company that trains people exactly like you watching me here. So we train sales professionals like you. We train sales executives like you, sales leadership, sales management, entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants, contractors. We train you and your teams how to work with human behavior. We train you and teams certain questions to ask and how to use your tone that work with human behavior that cause your prospects to let their guard down and actually want to open up to you emotionally and tell you what's really going on. Now, there's a lot more to that we'll talk about today. So what I want each of you to do, go down to the bottom of your phone. And if you're on the live right now, I want you to go post #live. So if you're on the phone right now, I better see there's between YouTube and the Facebook group here, there's almost 100 people between both of those together. So I'm going to have you go down to the bottom of your phone and I want you to post #live in the comments. I better see a ton of #live. So post #live in the comments. And if you're on the replay, I'm going to have you post #replay. So go post #live. Thank you. Hey, Joey, what's up? Gia, Joey, Trevor, Tony, Aaron, Tony. There's a bunch of you starting to get on here. So I want you to go post, thanks, Daniel, Road Rage on YouTube, Frederick, Jasmine, Zindelin. I might be pronouncing your name wrong. Andrew. Okay. A lot of you on here. Tony, Justin. So go post hashtag live. If you're on the replay, go post hashtag replay. Now, I'm going to have you smash the heart button and I'm going to have you smash the like button. I better see hundreds of smashed hearts and hundreds of smashed likes. You know, it's only like 92 degrees here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Pretty damn hot for the middle of October, but it's still nice enough to go golf. So I better see hundreds of smashed hearts and hundreds of smashed likes if you want this client to help you sell more by answering your questions. All right, let's bring out the myth, the introverted legend, Tony Bianco. Tony, how are you, man?
Man, join my day. Just got done with CrossFit. Inspired for you. Got my butt kicked totally.
Yeah.
And you know what? Got to crush it in other areas, right? Not just in sales.
That's right,
But
baby. You go to CrossFit in the middle of the day, man. I'm like a morning guy. I have like a 5:30 a.m. class. I haven't gone for a couple of weeks. I'm starting to get skinny. I got to get back in the gym.
Yeah, well, I do it because I got my boys with me. I drag them to the gym, or they drag me to the gym. I don't know which one it is, but it's a good afternoon refresh. I tell you that, man. So it got me right out there. So.
Now, Tony, I looked you up. I'm not sure if you're aware, because, you know, randomly, the interviews are random, right? We might interview somebody that's only been here 90 days, that's, you know, jumped in. They really took the training seriously. They quadrupled their sales and income. We might interview somebody that's been here 6 months in the client training programs, or a year, 2 years. You've actually were one of the first 150 clients from 5 years ago when 7th Level started. I don't know if you're aware.
Was it 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yeah. God, you're the first 150 clients. Man, there you go.
That's crazy. That's history right there.
That is history. I gotta put the picture up on a frame, you know, the first 150 clients of 7th Level. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about this, because I've seen you post over the last several years, you know, different testimonials. I mean, maybe I've missed some of them. I don't see them all now. We get too many, but I've seen at least 3 or 4. And you talked about how you used to be an introvert, or you still are an introvert. And I think a lot of people out there are like, hey, I'm introverted. I'm a little bit shy. I'm not comfortable in person. I'm not comfortable on Zoom. I'm not comfortable calling people on the phone. Talk to us a little bit about being an introvert.
Well, I mean, I grew up as an introvert. I was always like the shy kid that got picked on at school, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So you kind of start carrying that throughout your life. And then, you know, being an introvert, sometimes you try to like overcompensate with trying to become a forced extrovert. And, you know, that never works out really well, as you know.
Right.
And I used to be like that for a long time, and I was a programmer for many, many years, just trying to like figure out how to make money online, all that kind of stuff.
So did you say computer programmer?
I was a computer programmer. Yeah. I mean, how did it go from programming into sales? That's a crazy story right there.
Okay. So you started off as a computer programmer. So
yeah, like a hoodie wearing, pizza stuffing computer programmer nerd.
So as Michael on YouTube, no offense, Michael, we love you. We're just making fun of you. As Michael would have said, Tony was the nerd computer programmer. What caused you to go from programming to getting into sales? Like, why would you do such a thing?
Man, I always wanted to make money online. I just got taught what I felt was the wrong way, which is programming. And then I started seeing people make money online, and I thought, well, I'm going to go learn how to do that. And I got introduced to like the high ticket world. Okay. And started going. I went from programmer to marketer into high ticket space. Okay. And then I kept on hearing about this guy, Jeremy Miner. He's like this legendary guy. He's totally crushing it. He's got this different way. And I was taught like the old way of doing sales, because my dad was actually in business, and he was really, really good at communication and sales. Okay. Yeah. But I was always learning like the books that you would see, like the Amazon best-selling, like old school, cringy kind of way to sell and communicate.
The sunbib close, the give it a try close, the puppy dog close, the 1,001 different closing techniques. Okay, so you heard about me because my last job, so I was in 4 different industries in my 17-year sales career. My last job, the last about 4 years, was in the high ticket space. That was my last job before I started 7th Level. So you heard about me there.
Oh yeah, everyone's talking about like this Jeremy Miner guy that was just crushing it, and also at the same time, this ability to communicate with people where it didn't feel pushy or salesy. When you're
Yeah.
using the old stuff, you feel cringy. You don't really like it, but you do it because that's what some guru said is the way to communicate. Then
Yeah.
I got introduced to your training, and I think it was like I went to an event, and I remember I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, man, this is really resonating with how I am, because I don't have to feel pushy, or I don't have to be something that I'm not, or try to communicate in a way that I wasn't communicating. I remember sitting down
Right.
with my wife and I said, you know what? Every successful professional, like a professional athlete, professional musician, artist, every single one of them has a coach. And I remember I was reading something where even Celine Dion, one of the greatest vocalists, had a
Yeah.
coach, a vocal coach. And I just sat there and said, you know what? We're never going to get to where we want to be unless I invest in myself and in my skills. And I think it was that moment.
Yeah.
That's when I contacted you and I said,
Yeah.
hey, I got to learn. And
I remember
yeah,
because that was right after I started
Yeah.
7th level. I retired for a little, took some time off, started 7th level. I remember you reaching out. Like I said, you're one of our first 150 clients.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is. And it's been such an amazing journey. I mean, when I first started down the NEPQ path and
Yeah.
started learning, I had to unlearn a lot of just
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it got to a place where now you have conversations, it becomes effortless,
Yeah.
and you're working with the person, not against them.
Yeah.
And it just, you have conversations where people get to the end of the sales cycle with you and they're like, hey, thank you so much. Like
Yeah.
you don't have, and you never hear that with other stuff.
Yeah, so,
So it's just a different experience.
so you've learned how to get the prospects to do all the work, right? Because they're the ones that have the problems, not you, right?
Right.
They have the problems, not you. You, the salesperson, has the solution to solve those problems. So why is everybody trying to, you got to do all the work, you got to do all the selling, you got to do all the convincing and persuading. We train you as a client here. We're going to train you how to work with what is already there, human behavior, to get them to pull you in, to get them to do all the work, to get them to focus on the end result, results-based thinking rather price or cost-based thinking. Okay, so now let's get into this. So you're in the high ticket space still. You're kind of in the digital marketing space. You sell these different high ticket programs, $5 grand, 10 grand, 20, 30 grand, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Walk us through a little bit, because I think some people get into NEPQ and it's like they take the red pill the first week, and then 30 days later, they've already doubled their sales, doubled commissions. 90 days later, they're making 4 times. And then other clients, it takes them a little bit longer. They'll see increases, 10%, 15, maybe 20. But sometimes it takes them a little bit of time before they kind of get it, the matrix, the red pill.
Before it clicks for them.
Yeah. Tell us your journey there real quick.
Well, my journey was, I remember the first couple months, it was like I was learning little bits and pieces, and I was getting really frustrated because I wanted the instantaneous results. I wanted to just get that one line that was going to change everything. And I realized I realized it's never the one line.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's where even watching your content you put out, it's really solid. It's great. But it's not the one line that's going to change everything. It's the system as a whole and the nuances.
Everything. Yeah.
And it's when I started paying attention to the nuances and the things that you were coaching me that things began to click. And that's where my income went from just making $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a month to making 50, 60, 70, 80.
Okay, whoa. That's a big jump. All right, so that's a big jump. I would say walk us through here. So you're averaging 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 a month. Where did you go? Let's say, where did you go 3 months later? Let's just kind of break down your journey.
So when I first started, because I wasn't really a salesperson, I was learning everything brand new. So I went from 5,000, and then I went to something 7,000, and then I think by 6 months I was at 12 to 15,000.
Okay, so
it wasn't a lot.
5 to 15 in 6 months. That's tripling your income. That's not shabby. Let's just be real. That's really good. But that also tells me and you now, compared to what you now know and make, because you've been here a client for several years, that tells us you kind of got a little bit of it, but you didn't have, well, probably not even 30% of it at that point. So what happened the next, so 6 months, you went from 5 to 15.
Yep.
What happened from month 6 to month 12?
So it's from 6 to 12. I think that's where I was getting into like the 30s. And then right around then something just like clicked. Like the minute it clicked for me, it was like the matrix got unlocked.
Okay, so hold on, because a
that's
lot
where
of
it
people
was.
on here, they're like, "Damn, son, like you went from 5 to 15. That's
Yeah.
a big jump in a lot of people's mind. They're like, holy hell, this guy's crazy." And then 6 months later, you went from 15 to 30. A lot of people would be like, "Damn, that sounds like you really got the matrix and took the red pill." But what you're saying is you hadn't
That was
understood or
dabbling.
swallowed the
That was
whole thing. You're
dabbling.
still dabbling.
That was
Okay, all right,
that was just baby step dabbling.
yeah,
And then because at first it was just mimicking, and then
yeah.
it started becoming understanding like the nuances of
You
what you're
understand
saying,
the
your tone,
psychology behind it.
psychology behind it. Yes. And at
Uh,
that point, that's where everything unlocked. And then all of a sudden it just got into the place where hitting like a $40,000, $50,000 a month was like my bad months.
Yeah, you were like, "Oh, I only made
Yeah.
40 grand this month." That's
Yeah.
okay. So let's just go to the timeline. So at 12 months, so you went from 5 to, let's say, 15, from month 0 to 6 months, because you were more of our advanced stuff, advanced inner circle. Then you went from 6 months to 12 months. You doubled that. Then you're starting to make it 30,000 a month. What happened from month 12 to month 18?
So month 12, I think 12 to like 14, 15, it just kind of hovered a little bit. And
Okay.
then all of a sudden it just took a massive uptake because I was building up my pipeline at the same time.
So what do you
And
think
then everything
was
started
that
clicking.
couple of things? Maybe
Yeah.
what was the top couple of things around that month 14, 15 that you finally understood? You're like, "I took the red pill," and you went from 30 to, where did you go? 30 to where the next 3-4 months?
About 30 to about 40, 50 around there.
Okay, so 30
And
to
then it
30.
jumped. Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, it jumped to about 80,000.
Okay, whoa, that's a lot. So you went from 30 to 45,
Yeah.
let's say another 6 months. What did you feel like you were missing before that took you from 30 to 45? Because that's a big jump. What did you feel like you finally learned and mastered at that point?
It was the tonality.
Tell us about
100%.
the tonality.
So when you don't have the tonality, you sound scripted, like you're just going through something, and you just feel like you just sound like you're going through questions, and it becomes like interrogation. But when you gain the tonality of what you're saying, the tonality and the pacing, it becomes more natural in how you're communicating with someone.
Yeah.
And then at that point, when you get past the script and you get more into the framework and the psychology and the tonality, then it just becomes like you're flowing with the conversation instead of pushing the conversation. So that's where it was. It was when I went from pushing to flowing.
So instead of just asking the questions on your script where you sounded a little bit scripted, you're saying once you learned the tonality, especially once you started learning verbal cues, how to bridge from question to question where it sounded natural, that causes your prospects to keep their guard down and they open up emotionally.
Definitely.
That's a game changer once you learn that. Now, because there's a big jump here. So the next 6 months, okay, because you're still going through the training, remember, everybody on here, is training something you did or is training something that you do? Because if Tony had stopped training at month 6, where would he be? He'd still be at the same income he was at month 6. You'd actually probably go back down, right? So then from month like 18 to month 24, you said you went from 45 to what per month?
80. That's when I hit my first
80,000 a month.
You're
being real?
Hold on.
Okay.
So it was 82,000, and then right after I did that, like 2 or 3 days later, I closed another, I don't know, like $10,000 in sales. So I ended up closing the month with about 96,000.
Yeah. But then you get a paid commission on that. So so you got, that was like your biggest.
No, that was my commission.
That was your commission. Okay, so
that was not my revenue. That was my commission, 96,000.
That was your commission. Okay, I thought you meant that revenue. Okay, that was your commission. So the
No,
product you're selling, because you would have got paid probably a 15% commission or so. Okay, that makes more sense to me. Okay, what was the jump? What did you have to master to go from 45, which is a ton of money, dude, to 80? What was the big thing you had to master?
It would be my posturing, and then again taking my tonality and my questions a little bit further. But it was also my posturing, because as an introvert, you typically aren't postured properly. Let me put it that way.
Tell us what you mean by posturing, because sometimes people would be like, "Oh, that means he's acting like he's all tough, like he's the man." Like, what do you mean by posturing?
Just having a calm confidence and being even keel when people are talking to you, no matter what they're doing, whether they're blown up on you
Yeah.
or everything else. Because most people, they get into sales, as you know, they get all like excited, like, "Hey, how are you doing today?"
Yeah.
And that's just like, that's the cheesiest thing in the world. It seems
Yeah, you
like.
sound like a
No.
salesperson, right? And they
Yeah.
put their guard. So what we mean by posturing, I want to make sure everybody understands. It's like, I think what Tony's describing is he learned how to become more assertive, because assertiveness doesn't mean that you're like in their face. When you come across assertive, it's collective, it's calm. It's people view you as an expert because you're calm. So even if a prospect gets upset and throws out a huge objection, what we train you is we teach you like just not even like stone cold, like it has no impact on you emotionally. And you view it as more not their fault they threw that objection, but like you're starting to think like, oh, what did I say? How did I use my tone that triggered him or her to react that way? And we teach you how to, clarify what's behind their objection or concern, and then how to reframe them and help them overcome that concern where they become on your side. So that's a big thing you learn.
I think that would be, exactly. That's the thing is I became more observant when that kind of stuff happened. So I really became more aware, observant and aware, and more in control of myself and in more control of the conversation that's happening. Not that I was manipulating someone, but I was just guiding and observing and also bringing things to attention.
You became more of a facilitator, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so let's call it that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know the technical terms. I just get.
You're taking them as on this journey, right? You're helping the prospect understand what their real situation is, because most don't when you first start talking to them, right? Maybe they know they have a problem, but they don't know how bad the problem is really, or maybe they don't understand the consequences of what happens if they don't do anything about solving the problem, right? So
Yeah, I want to add something else to that.
Yeah.
The other thing that helped me was, and here's the thing, like when you're doing all of your discovery calls, you get into a place where you've heard the same story over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's really easy to become biased and just kind of expect the answers. So the other thing was learning to becoming just open and curious and just paying attention more to what they were saying rather than just knowing where the conversation was going. I think that like in the book, Just Listen, he said there's one thing to be interesting. It's a different thing to be interested. And that was the other side of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, the third principle of the new model of selling is we always say, we train you how to listen to what the prospect means, not just what they're saying. Let me repeat that for everybody. You have to learn how to listen to what the prospect means, not just what they say. So if I ask an NEPQ commitment question, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? And they're like, yeah, I think it could. Some of you might be like, he's ready to go, she's ready to close. But what I just heard is he's uncertain. He's unsure. He has a concern. That's what I heard in his tonality, not just what he said. I listened to what he meant, right?
That's the key right there, is knowing what's behind the comment, what's behind the answer.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that, then you're going to miss a lot of sales. So that was the other thing that was a big, like unlocking the secret for me, was just understanding, looking past the question, looking past the answer, and seeing what was beyond, what was underneath it. That was also another one.
Yeah, I like that. All right, let's take some questions from the audience here. I think there's some really good questions. Take a few questions, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and ask you a couple of questions that we've trained you how to ask, maybe a consequence question or problem awareness, whatever you want to reveal, because there's a lot more of those in your sales structure that you have to use for your industry. I'm not going to have you give everything away to everybody on here, but a couple of little golden nuggets that's going to help them sell more. So let's go see. Okay, and let's see. This is a good question. Aslam from YouTube. What's the number one secret of your success, Tony? What's the number one secret out of everything you've learned with any?
Man, people always ask that question. I think the better question, if I can like just impart something, is ask people like, what's the biggest challenge you face and how do you overcome it? Because that shows the problem solving skills.
I like that. Let's answer that.
Let's do that instead. Because the biggest secret is the obvious one, NEPQ. That's the biggest secret, and that's what everyone's going to say. The biggest thing was, what was the biggest challenge I ran into, and how did I overcome it? The biggest challenge I ran into was my ego. of I already know this. So, and how did I solve it? Was becoming aware that I don't know it. And the
Yeah.
sooner I learned that I didn't know it, was the faster I got to the place of getting where I really wanted to be.
That I love that. I think that should be in a book, because I think the biggest thing that holds most salespeople back from greatness, from making 2, 3, 5 times what they are now, any industry, doesn't matter. It holds back a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners from scaling their companies, is what? They have such a high ego because they're doing good that they think they know everything there is to know about selling. And that's why, unfortunately for them, they stay at the same income every year, have to work their butt off, go through the numbers game, go through the motions, and the end result every year is about the same.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay.
how did you overcome
Yeah.
that?
I'm sorry. I was reading one of the comments, man. I apologize.
How did you overcome the ego that holds a
Oh, how
lot
did
of
I become
salespeople back?
over the ego? This is so. There's a bit of philosophy that I have for myself. Is
Yeah.
there's a difference of, between confidence and arrogance,
Yeah.
and the question comes is, who do you serve? So I had to get to this place where I had to ask myself, like, who am I really serving? Am I serving myself, or am I serving the people that I'm selling to? Like, do I really care about me, or do I care about them? And I think it's a little bit of both. But I think what it really came down to is I realized at the end of the day, I really care about the people around myself. And that's when I realized, you know what? You don't know it all. And I had a mentor that even taught me that. Like, hey, outside of you, it's like you
Sure.
don't know it all. And the faster that you can learn that you don't know it all, is the more open you become to learning. And I think it was also the element of that curiosity where I said, you know what? I don't know it all and I'm struggling, so I need that help.
Yeah.
And I think that's what gets a lot of salespeople is they get into the ego world of saying, I don't need the help. I can do this. Even in the world I've been around people where, they do well in sales, but they could do so much better
Yeah.
if they just kept on growing and learning. I
Well,
mean,
you know what
imagine.
most people do, like you said, when you went from
Yeah.
5 grand a month in commissions and you got up to 15 grand a month in commissions, most salespeople, unfortunately for them, I know it all. I'm making 15 grand a month. I'm the best. And if Tony had done that,
I
would
would
he
never be
never
where
got
I'm at right now.
30 or
Yeah.
45 a month or where he's at now?
And
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing is like when you get to like making $80,000 a month, you realize that's not the end, that's just the beginning. And at that point you realize, okay, we're just you every time you hit a new level, you're always presented that ability to say, this is it, that I've arrived.
I know
And
everything.
I know everything. And I think that's the thing they have to eliminate is that you don't know it all and you've never arrived. So you got to
Yeah.
stay hungry and stay curious and keep on learning.
Yeah.
And that's how you also adapt even in your own industry and like learning new questions and new ways of saying things.
100%. All right, I'm going to answer this question for Eduardo here on YouTube. I think this is a really good question. So Eduardo, it looks like you're from the solar industry. So we train it's actually 161 industries now, because we thought it was 158. It wasn't last year, it was 158. But I guess apparently we didn't know this. Forbes updates how many industries there are in the world every year, and there's always new ones that are created. And sometimes there's other ones that get so small that they get subbed into a different subcategory. So we train in 161 different industries, and there's subsets of each one. Like if you're in home improvement, that would include, siding, that would include pools, that would include, that could include decks, it could include windows, doors, bathroom, help me, I've fallen, I can't get up. So you have to have for an elderly person, a better, like shower thing that you can get in and out. That includes, remodels of the house, new carpet, new tile, tiling, countertops, cabinets. I could go on. So there's different subjects. So solar is one of the biggest industries we train now, Eduardo. It's actually, we looked it up the other day. Solar is the third largest industry we train in the world now, especially the last year. So we train one company that has 11,000 salespeople. Okay. Power Solar did a big, huge training for them in their virtual studio, and we do a lot of stuff with it. Anyway, Eduardo, let's go back here. Eduardo, so this is a really good question for you. How would you frame a consequence question in the solar industry to a very wealthy customer? I'm going to show you how to do it to somebody that's really wealthy, and I'm going to show you how to do it with somebody that's just kind of like regular middle class, where that bill's pretty high. because there are differences. Okay, Eduardo, you ready? Hopefully you're writing this down, brother. So typically, if somebody's wealthy, okay, what I want to do is I want to push them away a little bit. I want to push them away and get them to defend themselves on why they're maybe looking to change, because that pulls me back in. They pull me back in. Okay. So I want you to pay attention to what I do here, Eduardo. This is only for somebody that's wealthy, somebody that's middle class. I'm going to show you a different way. Okay. So, I mean, for you guys, why in your mind, why look at even doing this now? I mean, why not push it down the road and keep, paying the rate hikes like a lot of people do who don't know anything about solar? So for you, why not push it down the road and keep, paying the rate hikes like a lot of people do who don't know anything about solar? Now, why would I do that to somebody wealthy? Why not push it down the road and keep, usually I say I would train a company. And why not push it down the road and keep, paying the rate hikes? Notice what I'm doing with my hands, because usually you're going to be in the home or virtual if you're selling solar, paying the rate hikes like a lot of people do who don't know anything about solar. See, they don't want to be like a lot of people do who don't know anything about solar, because now they know about solar, right? Because you've been talking to them about it. When I say keep paying the rate hikes, or I could say so why not push it down the road and just keep being forced to pay the rate hikes? That's actually better. Keep being forced to pay the rate hikes. See, a wealthy person does not want to be forced to do anything. Most people don't want to be forced to keep paying the rate hikes. Warren Buffett would not want to be forced to pay the rate hikes, Eduardo. So that's how you'd frame it if they were wealthy. Now, let me see.
That's masterful.
There you go. See, now, if it's somebody, I know, see, there's that.
Yeah, I hope someone was paying attention to that. They need to pay attention, especially to the body language, not just what you said and how you said it.
What did you see that I did there?
The rate hikes.
I'm visually creating a what in their mind? A gap.
A gap. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
That's like, if you're not doing your sales calls on Zoom, here's the funny thing. I'm to the point right now where I've done so many sales calls on Zoom that when I'm just at home talking to my friends, I can't do it without the video camera on.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to get on the phone anymore when you're so used to virtual, like seeing people and stuff. It is true, because when I call relatives or my dad or something, it's hard for me to talk on the phone. I'd rather like just FaceTime him or something where I can see the person. So true.
Yeah. All right. And you know what's interesting? I'll share this real quick point. When I went over to Vietnam, because doing with NAPQ stuff, we were able to increase our income. We can go do the fun things. We traveled over to Vietnam to go visit my wife's mother. She hasn't seen her mother in like 20 years because we lost contact of her and we got reconnected. It was amazing. But it was funny because all the people in Vietnam, they don't do phone calls like this. They all do video phone calls.
Really?
Yeah, everywhere. They don't do phone calls like this. It's all FaceTime videos or WhatsApp or whatever else. So it's just interesting. And so like if you're a salesperson, so going back, I'm just thinking like, what was the things that unlocked? That was the other thing is I did all of my calls by Zoom. Initially, it was so awkward, but now it's gotten to the point where if you're not doing calls on Zoom, you're only communicating at like a part of
because they can't visually see
body language.
They don't trust you as much, and it's a disadvantage for you because you can't read their body language. Now, there are some industries, if you're calling aged leads, and let's say you sell final expense insurance or life insurance at aged leads, if you do a one call close, because it's more of a client that is like maybe lower middle class or lower, like very poverty, you're typically going to have to use the phone. And there's other industries for that. Like if you cold call, but then when you set that second appointment up, if you cold call, you would want to do it virtually on Zoom. There are some industries where you're going to do it in person. It just depends. So there are some circumstances there, but with Tony's industry and a lot of them now, you should be able to do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Or if it's a two-call close. Yeah, if it's a two-call close or whatever, you want to do that second one on Zoom for sure.
And especially after all the whole lockdowns and COVID. I mean, everybody knows how to use Zoom, or they should. Even
grandpa and grandma go to church on Zoom now, right?
They do. Yeah, exactly. Everyone does.
Yeah. And I want to show Eduardo a different take of that. You're lucky I'm doing this for you, Eduardo. Hopefully you're one of our clients, Eduardo, because all of this and like 10,000 times more training is in our virtual training portal. We even have solar specific trainers now that we contract with that were NEPQ clients. That we have one guy that makes $150,000 a month in commissions, who teaches you how to tie NEPQ into your industry. So we have sales trainers that do that all over the world for tons of industries now at this point. Anyways, going back to it. So that consequence question will only work if they're wealthy and they've kind of started opening up a little bit about looking at solar. If they're completely emotionally shut down, you can't ask it that way. It wouldn't make any sense. You know, why look at doing this now? If they're like, well, I'm not looking at doing this now, that wouldn't make any sense. So if you have that type of, you know, A type that's not opened up at all, that's kind of like, you know, just in your face, you might want to, you can like lean down and in a concern tone, you can be like, do you want to keep being forced to pay the rate hikes if you didn't have to? See, that's a different angle of that we would teach you. Do you want to keep being forced to pay the rate hikes if you didn't have to? See, that's a confused, concerned tone, right? I even put my hand on my chest. That's a body language signal that I'm what? That I'm concerned for you. I'm concerned for your problem and your situation and the consequence. Okay, Tony. Now I want you to give me like maybe a consequence question or a question problem awareness taught you. I know it's in your head.
Yeah, it's in my head. But I'll give one. So a lot of times when I'm working with people, especially with certain things I sell, they're transitioning from where they're at into starting a business.
Okay.
And, you know, they might be working for 30 years in the same job. And it's
because you sell kind of a model where they actually start. It's almost like a franchise model, right?
Yeah, like affiliate marketing, or it's getting into creating their own courses, selling online
their own
education.
business.
It's a massive industry. Yeah,
online education. So give us one of those.
So the main question is like, you know, just listening to what you're sharing with me so far, you've been doing the same thing for 30 years. What if you keep doing the same thing for another 5, 10, or 15 more years? What would happen then?
Look at your tone. That's good. Now, what type of tone did Tony use? He used a concern tone. And why would you use a concern tone with that type of question? What does that do in the prospect's mind?
Because I really care about the person, and also, becoming a part of their journey at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm like trying to like convince them. I'm trying to bring and awaken a question inside of their mind where they become self-aware. And okay, so I want to touch on that for a quick second if we can. In today's day and age, people aren't taught to think, they're only taught to react. And at the same time, nobody's self-aware. Self-awareness is one of the greatest levels of success. Is the more that you become self-aware and the more that you help them become self-aware, the faster it gets them out of reaction mode into thinking mode. And in that thinking mode and feeling mode is where they make that decision.
Yeah. It's so true, because what you're doing is and I want to make sure everybody, because what Tony did there, you might have been like, wow, that sounds really good, but you probably don't know the skill level and the nuances he just did, that you have no idea what to do if you wouldn't try to do that with what you said. Like literally, I'm going to break it down. So first of all, he used a concern tone. Your tone is how your prospect interprets the intention behind the question. That's how they're interpreting the meaning, your intention behind the question. Is he concerned for me, or is he trying to manipulate me? Is he concerned for me, or is he trying to sell me? See, that's a big deal. Is he confused about something I said, so I need to clarify? Is he curious? Like that's how their brain doesn't know what they're doing. It's reacting to that, right? Now, another thing he did is he used what's called this. This is really important. This is what he learned in Advanced Inner Circle. He learned how to verbal pace that question out, and he used 2 verbal pauses within there. Okay. So what is verbal pacing? When you're asking questions, most salespeople, I know all of you are guilty on there, you ask the question so fast that your prospect literally has no time to internalize and think about what you're asking. And that's why they give you a surface level question. So if Tony had asked that same question, so you've been doing this for 30 years, like, what are you going to do if you just keep doing it another 5, 10, 15? Oh, I don't know. Like, I just, something will happen, because he gave him no time to think about it. He gave him no time to internalize. But when he said, so you've been the same job the last 30 years. Verbal pause, 2 seconds. What happens if you don't do anything and you're there 5 years from now making the same amount of money? Like, what changes for you? So I did 3 verbal pauses there, and I paced out the question. Now that causes the prospect's brain, literally they cannot help it, to internalize and think really deep about that question. And that gets more of a openness. So the prospect thinks deep, so they're more open, and they really like think about it, internalize it, and they start to build a gap because now they emotionally open up. Whereas when you guys are asking questions so fast, they stay surface level with you.
Yeah. That's the key. And the other thing was bringing them back to the thing that they've been doing that hasn't been working. You've been doing the same thing for 30 years.
Yeah.
Just bringing them back to that place and reminding that, they're with you on that call because what they're doing hasn't been working.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening there. So that's what's called an NEPQ consequence question. All right. So that's good. Let's take one more question here. All right.
Can I answer one of the questions?
Yes.
Can I do
yes,
that? Because I've been reading some of the questions, the ones I've been pausing.
Take
one
a
of
good
them
one
said,
if you want. Yeah.
Okay, so just crossed over 25,000 commissions this month in commercial insurance. Was at 7K before Jeremy Miner's program, NEPQ, joined 3.0, then Inner Circle last year. If you could go back 5 years, what would you tell someone a year in to avoid the jump from 25 to 50K?
Good question.
2024. Man, that's a great question. Here's the thing. Oh man, I wish I would have done this, Jeremy. I really wish I would have done this. I kick myself all the time looking back because I didn't do this as quickly as I should have.
Yeah.
And that is to trust the process and be coachable. My God, that's the most important thing. I like looking back.
You cut out a little bit. You said,
okay, I'll say it again.
Trust the process.
To trust the process and be coachable. Just stop fighting the process. I fought that process because I was like, it's not. I remember one of my funniest memories of working with you. I remember like messaging you like, Jeremy, it's not working. And you're like, I don't know how it couldn't work. It's working for everybody else. Maybe there's something that you're doing. And I was like, I was not submitting to the process. But the minute I did, man, everything just changed. That's the thing I would tell someone.
Yeah, because a lot of times we'll train them because they have our virtual training course, 45 hours. They're going through that daily 10, 15, 30 minutes or whatever. They're on the group trainings, and we'll teach them exactly what to ask, like word for word. Especially if they're an advanced inner circle, they've got all the scripts, every industry, word for word. They'll go in, change half the words, fluff it out. Their tone sounds awful, like monotone or excited. They're like, why haven't I quadrupled my sales? And then we hear them on call reviews. They're like, well, I can tell you why, because you sound like a scripted robot. Because you haven't learned how to use verbal cues. You got to actually pay attention to the training. You're not going to triple your income by going through the training portal one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going to learn everything. It's all the nuances, right?
No, you won't. And if someone has just asked this other one, can you expand on what you meant by submitting to the process? It was giving you my call recordings. And having you just tear apart the call. And that's like really, that is like the biggest ego check right there, is because you're giving a call recording. You're thinking like, I crushed this call. And then you come in and you tear it apart. And then you realize that's probably the most valuable interactions I ever had with you, because I learned all the things I did wrong and all the things I should do right. And at that point, that's where all my sales started increasing at the same time, because I was learning the nuances, right? The psychology.
It's the ins and outs. So you're flexible with the sales structure. You don't sound scripted. Gio, Eduardo, is that true? Or are you being paid? Well, Eduardo, you let everybody know. Eduardo, are we paying people? We got 18,000 plus testimonials in the last 3 years. We're paying lots. We paid 18,000 people to give us testimony. Oh man, I love that. We paid millions of dollars. I don't know. What are we doing there? Good Lord. Eduardo. Yeah. So Gio, just a suggestion to you. Maybe let it go. Like drop the, like Tony said, maybe drop the ego. Maybe you don't know everything there is to know about selling or sales. Maybe you could learn how to sell more, just going out there on a limb, You want to join our Facebook group. You're going to see we get about 30 to 50 new testimonials every day. Every day, that's 7 days a week. You're talking about thousands a month. So just going out on a limb there, Gio, like you might want to like open yourself up. Maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I have more to learn. Because like Tony said, what's the biggest thing that holds most salespeople back from making 2, 3, 4 times what they are? Their ego, thinking they know everything.
Yeah, that is. And then the ego, when they start making money, that's the other thing. They get cocky.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
love it.
where they have to become more humble. Yeah.
Great. I'm still learning. I made a little bit under $33 million in commissions in my 17-year sales career before I started 7 Level. And I will tell you, I don't know everything. I'm still learning every day because I know if I don't, I'm never going to get to the next level. Tony, thank you for being on here.
Love having you.
You're a legend. I love having you on there. All right, everybody. Thank Tony for there. Everybody get him a round of applause. Give Tony a fire emoji in the chats, in the comments. I want you to post a fire emoji. Now, should I ask you, do you want to start acquiring just maybe, possibly, potentially even half of the sales ability that Tony, who was an introvert, who went from 5 to 6 grand a month, eventually biggest months, 80, 90 grand a month. The average is a little bit under that, freaking tons of money. Do you want to start acquiring even half of Tony's sales ability that we've trained him as an advanced inner circle client? Type in me if you want to acquire even half of Tony's sales ability that we've trained. If you want to, well, type in me if you want to double your sales. So type in me in the comments if you want to double what you are doing now. If you want to go, even if you're doing good, you want to double your sales, type in me. Now, for some of you, you're like, I don't want to just double. I don't make that much. I need to triple. So if that's you, type in triple in the comment sections. I want to triple what I'm doing now, my sales percentages, what I make. Now, some of you are bigger thinkers like Tony was, and you've dropped your ego and you're like, shit, if there's thousands of other people, pretty much every industry we train now that are doing those numbers and more, why not make 4 times what I'm making now? Why not my closing percentages go up 4? Type in quadruple. I don't know how to spell it. Type in quadruple if you want to make 4 times what you are now, even if you're doing good. Type in quadruple. Some of you are like multiple, like zillion, like I love that. All right. Now, for those of you who typed in that, what's your plan? What's your plan? Are you going to triple your working hours? You already work 8 to 10 hours a day. You're going to work 24 hours a day? How are you going to do it? If you can't triple your working hours, how are you going to triple your closing percentages? How are you going to triple your sales? How are you going to triple your commissions? How? What's your plan? You can't. So if you want to double your sales, if you want to triple your sales, triple your income, what do you have to do? We have to be like Tony, tens of thousands of our clients now, and you have to acquire what? A more advanced sales ability than you currently have learned.
That's the key.
Right?
That's the key.
And then you have to rehearse it. You have to practice it. You have to show up on training calls. If you miss the live training calls, you show up on the recorded client training calls. You have to go through our virtual training portals for clients to acquire those skills, just like tens of thousands of our clients are doing on a daily basis. Okay. In your industry, watching me right now, we have tons of people that are making 4, 5 times what you are now. Even if you're already doing good, they have hair. Some of them are bald. Some of them have 1 leg, 2 legs. They drink water. They have trials. I've heard they even eat food. Some of them pray. Some of them don't pray. Some of them have purple hair. Some of them, whatever, have 1 eye. The only difference is what? They've just acquired a much higher level of sales ability than you currently have. So are you going to let them keep crushing you like that? Are you going to let them keep owning you in your own industry? Are you going to let them keep crushing you? Type in no if you've had enough with it. If you're done with people crushing you in your industry because they've acquired a higher level sales ability, type in no. I'm not going to let them do that. Now, for you who typed in no or double or triple or quadruple, message me directly right now. So for you who typed in double, triple, quadruple, or multiple, whatever he said, whatever, or typed in no, message me directly right now. So if you're in the Facebook group, message me directly right now. If you are on the Facebook business page, message me directly right now. If you're in my Facebook, message me directly. Now, if you're on YouTube, you can't message me on that platform because I don't respond on there. We don't have people respond on there. You'll have to join our Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. It's right there on purple, right underneath me and Tony. And then message me directly. And either myself, because there'll probably be at least 50 or 60 of you that will message me real quick. There'll be more on the replay. There'll be 500 more people on the replay that watch us over the next day. I won't be able to message all of you back personally. I'm just going to let you know now. I will message a few of you. The others, I will have someone on my team message you directly. And they'll probably have some questions about your industry. What do you sell? What do you feel like you're saying or asking or not asking, or maybe not understanding how to use your tone that's triggering your prospects that have problems that your solution solves to run the other way? What are you saying? What are you not asking that's causing them not to buy from you, even though they have problems that your solution solves? So once we ask you those questions and kind of what you make now compared to what you want to make, if you want to change that, we'll let you book in with one of our account managers who trains different industries like yours, and you can ask them questions and they can go over the different training options we have if you want to change your situation. We have 36 different sales training programs now. Tony, when you started, there was one. Now there's 36. A lot of them are tons of different more industry specific. All right, Tony, I got to get out of here. I got another podcast. Thank you, my brother.
Hey, and it was having me.
Yeah, it was great seeing you about a month ago.
Yeah.
Fun,
Live. Yeah.
That was fun.
I know. It was great to be able to see you for a little bit. Now to be able to reconnect now. So
I love it. I love it.
Okay, man.
All right, everybody, get out of here. We'll see you next week. Message me directly right now. Let's see. Why was I sent to a dead? Okay, message me directly right now, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Somebody said, why was somebody sent to debt collection agency for not completing the NPQ? Well, whoever you are, if you enter into an agreement and then you rip our videos out and copy them or pirate them, and then you don't pay, you would get sent to a collection agency for sure. That is why. All right. Get in the training, start learning, start selling more. Everybody soon. Good Lord. All right.
Oh, my goodness. All right. See you later, Jimmy. Bye.